What makes a perfect show? A compelling storyline, high quality production, maybe some engaging, impactful dialogue. You see, Pingu was a timeless classic, a show built upon a foundation of simplicity and love. While clay animation series were not exactly new in the 1990s, Pingu still managed to carve out a unique place in the hearts of both children and adults alike. It struck a different chord, resonating with a type of purity that few shows achieve. Perhaps I'm biased, having formed a deep connection with it as a child, but looking back, I see that this show was much more than meets the eye. It delved deeper, into the very essence of human experience, wrapped up in a charming character of a little penguin. My main focus in understanding the magic of Pingu was to explore the life of Otmar Gutmann, the creator behind this iconic show, but unfortunately, very little is known about his personal journey, but thankfully, his creation speaks volumes. Like I said before, not a whole lot is understood about Gutmann's early life, but what can be understood is his inspiration behind the idea of Pingu. My objective with Pingu was to show what is fundamental to my sense in the whole animal world, namely the simple thing that we are nothing without the other. The use of a penguin allows, besides being sympathetic, to vary on topics as diverse as ecology, global warming, and a lack of resources. This idea can resonate with quite a lot of people today. In a world of division and fear, this hits home. Gutmann orchestrates the idea of a fundamental truth, a truth about the interconnectedness and interdependence of all living beings. He suggests that individuals and communities thrive through mutual support. By choosing a penguin as the protagonist, Gutmann was able to create a character that is not only universally endearing, but can also pretty naturally showcase and explore diverse topics, such as ecology, impacts of global warming, and resource scarcity. These are themes that we frequently see throughout Pingu, themes that can be pretty complex and usually underscore broader issues, but are illustrated in a fun and loving way. Gutmann uses the simplicity of a penguin's life to mirror the complex human concerns, making Pingu not just an entertaining show, but also a subtle educational tool on global issues around the world. I know some can see this as a pretty controversial move, applying such complex issues into a children's show, but when most of the issues revolve around taking care of each other and highlighting the interconnectedness of all living things, then I don't think I'm entirely against it. I would be lying if I said that this was a unique, never been done before move from the creators of Pingu, but I do still want to highlight it, because I believe that the simplicity of this is still genius. In Pingu, they don't speak English, or any human language, as a matter of fact. They speak Penguinese, which is basically just some random ramblings of gibberish. This use of universal language is one of the reasons Pingu blew up. For example, Pingu is actually the most popular in Japan. As a result of this, there are endless Pingu products and merchandise found everywhere in Japan. Silvio Mazzola, the man who took over the show after Gutmann died, states that Pingu was known by over 90% of high school girls between the ages of 13 and 17, all within Japan. But you see, the reasoning behind Pingu's universal language isn't just correlated to a larger audience. It all comes down to imagination. And we all know that this is something kids definitely don't lack. Throughout the show, most things are pretty self-explanatory. You don't really need to put much thought into it, it just makes sense. But on the other hand, there are moments that do require a little bit more brain power. An example of this can be seen in a scene from episode 5 of season 1. Pingu delivers the mail. Whilst delivering the mail with his dad, an envelope is given to a pretty rough elder penguin. As he opens the mail and reads what's inside, a shift in the music takes place, tears start sliding down his old penguin face. Again, we have no idea what was in that letter, and context behind this scene is never brought up again, leaving it entirely up to imagination. We have to decide what was in that envelope. This is perfect for a younger audience. It bridges an emotional gap that children are still in the process of building. The show forces you to focus on emotions and experiences that are pretty universal. Pingu encouraged empathy and understanding among viewers. Pingu cries, kid cries. Pingu happy, kid happy. No words exchanged, just a continuous mountain of non-verbal cues. Facial expressions, body language and vocal tones are constantly being fed to the viewer. Children can also relate to Pingu's feelings and situations, fostering a sense of connection and shared human experience. This breakdown of language is ideal. It creates global accessibility, gave the show a timeless appeal, and provided educational value in the form of emotional expression, imagination, and empathy. A beautifully cultivated combination of qualities. In an age of hyperstimulation and fried dopamine receptors, Pingu stands as a testament as to why less is often more. A nostalgic reminder of simplicity at its very purest form. Like I said at the start, Pingu being a claymation, no dialogue film was no groundbreaking idea. It had been done before. But again, I am biased. Pingu was different. The use of stop motion gives it a timeless appeal. When you look back on older shows or cartoons that may have been using some sort of early CGI, it can sometimes dampen expectations and feelings of nostalgia due to the fact that you just remember it differently. Technology has advanced. This is where the handcrafted look of Pingu stands out. It will always look the same, remaining timeless and endearing. This also links back to the previous point about non-verbal cues within Pingu. Everything within Pingu was crafted by hand, through tedious, labour-intensive work. Every expression, every jiggle, every single movement. The positive about going through all this work is that the careful manipulation of the characters allows for highly expressive movements and gestures. Pingu's body language, facial expressions and subtle nuances in movement helps convey a wide range of emotions effectively. The quirky movements and the physical humour inherent in stop motion makes him an extremely memorable character. But it's not just the characters. Take a look at the settings provided to us, often simple and uncluttered. A simple snowy Antarctic landscape, a basic household of minimalism, or out in public amongst the community. A community left fairly blank, left to be a canvas for expressive characters. This minimalistic style works wonders. It not only leaves your mind uncluttered and calm, but it also helps you to concentrate on the characters, following every little detail of their interactions, sucking you into the show without being overwhelmed by complex backdrops or visuals. This style also helps to symbolise a certain space. For example, a simple ice block or a basic igloo can end up becoming the central focus of an episode, allowing the narrative to revolve around these elements without distraction, and it works beautifully. Last but not least, a show would never be perfect if it didn't have at least a couple controversies surrounding it. So within each episode of Pingu, there typically contains some sort of moral or social lesson. These lessons range from the importance of honesty, dealing with jealousy, sharing, and overall just understanding the feelings of yourself and others. This is a pretty nice feature, but at times the creators did like to push the boundaries a little and hone in on the dark side of the emotional spectrum. Overall, there were 18 Pingu episodes banned by a multitude of different countries for a multitude of different reasons, all across the globe. Right now, I'm going to highlight a few of the most well-known ones. Pingu Dreams, Season 1, Episode 26. Airing on the 12th of May, 1990, this banned episode is probably one of the most well-known across them all. It starts with Pingu laying in bed, getting ready to fall asleep. All of a sudden, he's transported into the dream world where his bed comes to life, carrying him around the Arctic. Unbeknownst to Pingu, he's being followed by a creepy looking figure, which actually turns out to be a walrus. Once the walrus makes himself known to Pingu, he torments him, leaving Pingu panicked and helpless. As you can probably tell, it was the look of the walrus that ended up getting this episode banned. Its human-like features and plasticine-type texture struck fear into the hearts of kids that watched it. It was also the fact that its appearance looked completely out of place, not really resembling any other figures, added somewhat of an uncanny look to it. This episode was banned and removed from British television in 2003, but was however still broadcast in the United States. Parents called in complaining that the walrus was just too frightening for their kids, supposedly being nightmare fuel, which also makes a lot of sense due to the fact that the walrus's appearance appeared inside of Pingu's dream. This, without a doubt, added to the terror. Pingu Runs Away, Season 1, Episode 14. Having been aired again in 1990, this episode starts with Pingu in a pretty bad mood at dinner. This ends up with him accidentally pulling the cloth off the table, resulting in everything flying across the floor. As a form of punishment, Pingu's mother hits him, while his dad nods in approval. In hope of being comforted, Pingu asks his dad for a hug, which he rejects. This leads Pingu to storm outside with feelings of sadness and frustration. After wandering around outside to cool off, he eventually encounters some scary ice sculptures and hides. After a worrying amount of time, his parents leave in order to go find them. So in the end, it did end up leading to a happy ending, I guess, but nonetheless, this episode did end up being removed from British television in 2005, and was then later banned from all future American airings. You see, when it was released in 1990, it was much more acceptable for a parent to smack their child. So I guess that's why the episode was originally allowed to be made. It was just illustrating that the show wasn't afraid to reveal what a realistic family looks like, even going as far to show the darker side of the family unit. The fact that it also tells a story of a child running away from home after being disciplined also probably plays a huge role here. Pingu would be setting an example that impressionable kids could just run away when things get tough. Little Accidents, or Pingu's Lavatory Story, Season 1, Episode 19. In this episode, Pingu experiences a series of mishaps, which leads to him needing to use the bathroom. The story unfolds as follows. Pingu goes outside with his sleigh, taking a selection of fish out with him. He travels to what appears to be a bar of some sorts. Obviously this isn't 100% declared by the creators of the show, but it definitely looks like it. Pingu gives all his fish away to buy strange looking drinks that he just can't seem to stop drinking. After drinking drink after drink, he starts feeling the need to use the toilet. However, he is far from home and doesn't have immediate access to a toilet. Pingu makes several attempts to find a good place, but Pingu eventually gets home to his bathroom but somehow misses due to his height, resulting in him making a mess all over the floor. This episode was officially banned everywhere, except from within the UK and Canada, which is a little silly to me but does make sense from a corporate business point of view. People were concerned of a numerous amount of things. The adult setting of a bar, a risk of imitation, and a focus on toilet humour. Again, some pretty silly reasons to be banned, but interesting nonetheless. The creators of Pingu were not afraid to tackle a wide range of emotional and sometimes contentious issues, making it a show that resonated deeply with its audience. However, the boldness of the creators' ability to highlight and tackle whatever emotional and contentious issues was, as I mentioned, bold. Episodes were banned and parents were mad, but to be honest, I love this. It showcased the show's willingness to explore a darker side, and sometimes a more realistic side. It wasn't really sugarcoating anything. These controversial episodes highlighted Pingu's unique approach to storytelling, where even the simplest narratives could evoke some sort of powerful emotional responses. All these things made Pingu great, a masterpiece of simplicity and perfection, a show I would put up against almost any. The philosophy of Pingu is woven into its every frame. It captures the essence of our interconnectedness, the beauty of minimalism, and the power of universal language. As Otmar Gutman says, the most important thing is simple stories with a clear idea. This is exactly what Pingu offers. A serene escape teaching us to see the world through the eyes of a small, endearing penguin. A penguin who navigates life with a sense of curiosity, empathy, and resilience. In its quiet, unassuming way, Pingu embodies the perfect show, in my opinion at least. It's a testament to the power of storytelling. Stories that rely not on grandiose plots or elaborate dialogue, but on the universal experiences that binds us all. To find joy in simplicity. To understand that even the smallest moments can hold profound truths. This is exactly what Pingu illustrates throughout the entirety of its show. So here's to Pingu, a timeless classic, a classic that will continue to touch hearts, souls, and minds. In its very gentle wisdom, absurdity, and playful spirit, it truly is the perfect show.